Thank you for joining today's LinkedIn Live webcast. I'm joined today with one of our partners, Joe Cleary from Lenovo.
Hi, thanks, Derek. I really appreciate the invitation to come and sort of join in on this web session. I'm the EMEA Solutions Manager here at Lenovo for our cloud connected devices portfolio.
Thanks very much, Joe. So during the next 20 minutes in this particular webcast, we're going to cover off a number of challenges that we hear our customers having on a daily basis today around end user computing. In particular, operating system migrations and upgrades are a particular problem. If you look at Windows 10 going end of life in 11 months and all the challenges that brings or could potentially bring around software compatibility, cyber accreditation, and as well as the sort of infrastructure complexity that is out there in managing environments and keeping environments up to date. And more importantly, more and more people are trying to do more with less as rising costs on solutions are growing. So these are some of the pain points that our customers have. There's also some of the pain points that with help from Lenovo and ourselves we address. And these are the things we're going to touch on today. Hopefully find them beneficial. I'm going to hand you over to Joe now, who will talk you through his portfolio and how he can help address some of these challenges. Joe, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Derek. So actually, if we could just skip straight to the next slide, please. So when we actually have a look at everything that's happening in the EUC space at the moment, right, we're seeing a huge move from your traditional sort of endpoint devices with local applications being installed, and ever increasing move to SaaS, DaaS, or VDI installations. And it's not just us, the vendors who work in this space saying this, right? Forrester and the likes of Gartner are echoing this throughout. Again, Derek, if you could move to the next slide. And if we were to do a bit of a deep dive, particularly into the VDI infrastructure, right? Back in 2021, the market was around sort of 15 billion. And there's a CAGR forecasted to around 55 billion, again, just in virtualization. Right? So we're forecasting, or the analysts are forecasting a significant market growth. But when we have a look at all of the different options, the different solutions, and all of the noise in the market right now, it's kind of hard to decide exactly, what solution should we be investing in? Are we actually going to see a return on investment on anything we do invest in? And more importantly, should we move to these SaaS, VDI, DaaS platforms? What are we actually going to do about these legacy endpoint devices in our environment, right? In particular, those devices out there which simply can't support Windows 11, whether that's due to sort of TPM limitations, or whether it could be, their prosumer or consumer devices which were purchased through the pandemic. Right? There's still a lot of kit out there which has life in it, but again, doesn't really support that Windows 11 OS either from a performance or an enterprise security perspective. So again, a huge challenge here, and I think I think that challenge is also compounded, right? When we're not just talking about the endpoint or the operating system, we actually then start talking about specific applications. As we know, within sort of manufacturing industries, within FSI, etc., right? A lot of the time, these organizations will be using applications which were built on very specific versions of, could be Microsoft Office, right? With Excel needing to run specific macros, or in-house developed apps which need to access specific databases, which again are all built on legacy apps, legacy versions of Windows. So how can we jointly, as Lenovo, as with our partner Igel from an operating system perspective, and of course Droplet, address some of these pain points and actually help customers to see a quicker return on new investments? Again, if you can move to the next slide, please. So with Igel, if you're unfamiliar with it, it is a secure endpoint operating system which has been designed right, for this hybrid work world. And by hybrid work, we're not just talking about us as users, where we log in from a location perspective, office, home-based, etc., but also the types of workflows, again, across physical Windows applications or VDI, DAS, and SaaS. If you could move to the next slide, please. So with Igel's operating system, if you aren't familiar with it, this is a secure read-only OS. Okay, their legacy in this space was thin client, right? If you're aware of Igel, you would think thin client technology, but it has evolved significantly, and it is now becoming more of this sort of secure endpoint OS for enterprise environments. It's not just an OS for accessing your traditional VDI cloud solutions such as Citrix, your Microsoft VMwares, etc. But it's also able to access this whole raft of sort of SaaS-based applications. You have the ability to deploy these applications as progressive web apps, right? Locally, publishing apps to a desktop, recreating that Windows experience, but on a secure Linux endpoint device. Now, with Lenovo, yeah, you may think, why are we just promoting this as an operating system, a solution? I mean, we can provide licenses for evaluation, for testing, which can then be installed on your legacy sort of Windows 10 devices, which can't support Windows 11 or other types of devices in the environment. But we also have a raft of products which we can ship from factory, pre-licensed and preloaded with the operating system as well. But other benefits of Igel's OS is the fact that, as I said, it's a secure read-only. We can publish those applications locally down to the desktop, but from a security perspective in particular, right, having that read-only base OS system means you don't really need to worry about the securing that endpoint, right? And I think, Derek, you'll come on to the whole point of security and trying to secure applications in a similar manner later, right? If they're not on a Windows OS, you don't really need to have those antivirus, anti-malware types of solutions installed. So it can actually help save a significant amount of cost with third-party licensing, with hardware refreshes as well. If you could move to the next slide, please, Derek. So a lot of this is achieved with Igel's, they call it their preventative security model. Already touched on quite heavily the fact that it's a secure read-only operating system. And what this actually means is that there's no locally stored user information or personal data, okay, on that device. So if something was to happen, if these types of devices were to be deployed at the far edge and let's say a theft occurred, right, there's, again, no sensitive IP on those devices at all. And all of the and any device running an Igel operating system can be fully centrally managed, updates deployed, and again, PWAs or Droplet Never Trust containers as well. If we can move to the next slide, please. So with Igel, as I said, I'm talking a lot here about the actual operating system product. And yes, it's, again, secure. And Igel sort of managed the OS security layer through their preventative security model. When it comes to that sort of OS to cloud or SaaS service, it supports out of the box a whole raft of different sort of SSO solutions from multiple identity providers with multi-factor authentication and different authentication methods, etc. But where does Lenovo then start adding value in this relationship? And where we add value is below that operating system layer. Because if we're looking at securing devices, right, and we're talking about reducing your costs from a security perspective with, again, antivirus, anti-malware, etc., we also need to make sure that the whole supply chain of getting that device into the end user's hand is secure. So we have something called zero trust supply chain. And by that, we mean that the devices haven't been tampered with in sort of any way from getting from point A to B to C. We have tools which enable us to ensure that BIOS updates, firmware security and updates, etc., are all fully covered. So with Lenovo, our value in this relationship is securing below the OS. Igel's is the operating system above and into the cloud authentication. And if we can move to the next slide, thank you. So just on that point, this slide is just covering off a few of the different hardware products that we have available within our current generation portfolio, where we have, so we've got the desktop devices on the left-hand side, which we can provide again with Igel's operating systems and licenses preloaded at factory. And we also have notebook options. But when we start looking to the far right of the slide, where we have our edge server solutions, and I think this is really where the partnership or the ecosystem sort of solution starts to become slightly more rounded, where we can partner with Droplet testing and validating our edge server, our secure hardware portfolio for both a server perspective as well as edge client perspective. And then we can look at Igel enabled Lenovo desktops, client devices to be able to access those remote applications. Okay, so I think that's it from me for the moment, Derek. I guess I can pass back over to yourself now.
Thanks very much, Joe. Really appreciate that. So, as Joe says, from a Lenovo and Igel perspective, they're looking at the endpoint and the operating system. Where Droplet adds value to this relationship is, again, going back to how we differentiate ourselves in the market. We are a software container. We support many different operating systems, including Linux, and in this case, our partnership with Lenovo and Igel. We sit above the operating system. We're a software container that can run any x86 application. And what's key, Joe mentioned it a few times, cybersecurity is key for every organization worldwide. The way we deliver applications is what differentiates us from other application delivery solutions on the market. When we install our container, we create an isolation layer around our container, above the operating system and above the hypervisor. This enables us to surpass any cyber accreditation because we are separating the application and the plugins away from the operating system and away from the network. So to prevent cyber breaches and achieve cyber essentials, we also add an additional layer of tools which we call Never Trust. So we add a firewall by default at no extra cost. We block all inbound traffic. If you're not configured inside Droplet, we don't let you in. We take security very seriously at Droplet, and everything we do at Droplet is secure by design. So by deploying this method, we only allow Droplet users in. We also then go a step further. We remove the admin rights from every user. An end user can do only one thing in a Droplet world, and that is launch an application. They can't change, modify, or delete an application. And we then encrypt the traffic between the Lenovo Igel endpoint device and our Droplet server. So all traffic is encrypted between both. Again, another layer of security that we add out of the box, no extra cost. This helps us prevent zero-day attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, and potential ransomware, especially if it's sitting on a non-Windows operating system. This is really bulletproof. Again, we go a step further again with the network layer. What we do there is we control the paths of users. Once we allow you in, we control where you can and where you cannot go. We also control the applications inside our container, again, where they can and cannot go. So this never trust approach is adding extra security layers around how we deploy applications, how we secure those applications. And if you look at Windows 10 going end of life in 11 months, we address all the compatibility you have with moving from Windows XP, 7, or 10 to 11 because of the way we deliver applications. And many of our customers that we've helped over the years have came to us purely down to the fact that they had sat at government standard, they had to sit some form of cyber accreditation, and they failed purely down to the software that they were running. Their business critical, mission critical applications failed a Cyber Essentials accreditation. We go beyond that. Any application installed inside our containers by default will pass not just Cyber Essentials, but Cyber Essentials Plus and NIS2 accreditation. And we've got many pen tests and work that we've done with National Cyber Security Centre to ensure that we keep ahead of the curve there on the cyber world. That is our product. We sit on top of Igel as an application delivery solution. And as I've mentioned, if you look at the challenge of Windows 10, now you're starting to understand how together with Lenovo and Igel, we complement each other. If you've got a Windows 10 device, the software's not compatible with Windows 11, it's got a TPM1 chip, you're not tied into an operating system dependency such as Microsoft. There are other options out there working with the likes of Lenovo, Igel, and Droplet, eliminating all the problems associated with upgrading to new operating systems with software that is unsupported and hardware that doesn't meet Windows 11 requirements. This is what's capable of working with Lenovo, Igel, and Droplet. So here's how it would look. As I've explained to you how we deliver the apps, we give the customer choices. We sit on any operating system, any cloud platform, and we support any hypervisor. So the way we would offer you, and it's up to you, we do blended mixes of both these solutions, but we can be installed directly onto any of those Lenovo devices that Joe shared earlier. We can sit on top of those, the Igel operating system as an edge device with the applications installed directly inside our container, delivered securely via our Never Trust model, eliminating all the pain points that you would get with Windows 11 migrations, delivered via Igel and Lenovo. We also can be streamed directly from a server or cloud because we support any of the above. We support any hypervisor, Azure, Google, and AWS. So whatever your path is that you're trying to achieve, whatever part where you are in your journey to the cloud, for example, or you maybe have Server 2008, 2012 challenges, we fix all of the above because we also have the same message in the server world as well. So if you've got Server 2008, 2012, and soon to be 2016, everything I've shared with you today is applicable to our server side solution as well. So hopefully that's gave you a good insight into where our partnership with Lenovo and Igel can help you overcome the challenges around your end user computing challenges on upgrading to Windows 11. Or maybe you've got a software that's preventing you from getting Cyber Essentials accreditation. Or we're seeing more and more customers looking for a more cost-effective alternative to traditional VDI. VDI has been seen as a luxury. They still have the investment in thin clients. They can't afford to buy new hardware, and they're looking to continue promoting flexible working, but the costs outweigh their budget. So this type of solution, we have successfully migrated many customers from that environment to our environment for a fraction of what they were paying for traditional VDI. Now, I could talk all day and share slides with you. Slides are great. It helps us explain who we are and what we do. More importantly, what differentiates us from other solutions in the market. Our details are on the screen. If any of the challenges that we've mentioned today apply to you, if you've got any questions and you'd like to ask us, reach out to us. Preferably, what I'd like to do is, with myself and Joe, we'd like to offer you a free trial. No, the proof is in the pudding. I could show you slides all day long. I'd like you be the judge of, can we back up what we've said today on today's webcast? Can we migrate your Windows 7 applications and get you past your Cyber Essentials? Proof's in the pudding. Reach out to us. Ask us to help you. We're more than happy to help you. I'm sure Joe will back that up as well.
Definitely, 100%, Derek. And I think just extending on one of the final points that you had just made around the sort of traditional VDI infrastructure, if we're having a look at Microsoft in particular with some of the announcements they've made at Microsoft Ignite, right, and their new sort of Microsoft Link box for streaming Windows 365. Again, you know, it's a great solution. We have vendors such as Microsoft sort of backing up this sort of SaaS-based delivery model down to a thin client-esque device. But exactly to the points that we tried to make through this presentation, if you don't have the budgets to invest in those sort of new endpoint devices, repurpose what you already have, right? If you're having challenges with legacy applications, how are you actually going to get them deployed if they don't support Windows 11? they won't support solutions such as Windows 365, AVD, and all the sort of traditional Windows 11 virtualizations. And I think the combination of the Droplet solution, new Lenovo hardware where applicable, where needed, and of course Igel's OS can really help customers maximize their IT budgets and deliver the solution and applications they need to keep their businesses going. So completely echo everything you just said, and please do reach out, challenge us. More than happy to arrange an evaluation.
Thanks very much, Joe. So I do these webcasts every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I'm actually going to lift the hood and show you the product. So if you found today useful and you'd like to see the product, join me next Wednesday at 3 o'clock on LinkedIn, where I'll actually show you underneath the hood of Droplet, show you through the eyes of an end user. What does it look like? What does it feel like? So hopefully you'll find that beneficial. Thanks very much for joining today. Hopefully you did find it useful. And just reiterate, if you'd like to test the products that we've showcased today, reach out to myself and Joe. More than happy to help you. Thanks very much for watching.
Thank you.